We're looking at 961 square metres of land opposite a park that's opposite a park, and it's all about 5Ks from the beach. Priced from $549,000. Yep, there must be a reason it's priced from $549,000, and we are going to go and see that reason in a whole bunch of detail. This house used to be, at one stage, the Pride of Medina. By the way, we're going to go and look in there in a second. I'm just going to walk you around the garden and show you why it was once the Pride of Medina. Sitting proudly on the corner, 22 Medina Avenue, Medina, was one of those homes that people would walk past and stop. They'd drive past and slow down and occasionally come and knock on the door and say, "Can I have a look around the gardens? I've just always loved these gardens." It was that kind of property. The home itself once was a show home for a builder, many, many years ago, I've got to say. And here it is today. It's a show home in as much as I'm going to show you this home, and it has gone to rack and ruin. We're going to go and check out the rack, check out the ruin, and see what is going on here at 22 Medina Avenue in Medina. A fantastic location. I mean, get on a bit of Google Street View there and just check it out for yourself. Or better yet, come and see it for yourself. Take a drive around this area and go, what's the go? That's actually a pretty cool location. This could be, I mean, look at this, right? You normally have to go for this look. I'm not saying for this, general vibe as a neighbourhood to compare it with Subiaco, but this has got a bit of a Subi feel. Street trees that have been cared for. Picket fences. I mean, that look, you don't see that too many places anymore, but look down this street. We've got picket fences. We've got that real neighbourly kind of vibe going on. Beautifully maintained street trees, beautifully maintained parks right opposite the house. There's something special about what is going on here. And 960 square metres of land on a corner block, well, that is pretty special as well. We will go and see what was happening here a long time ago, see what has been happening in recent times, and work out what the opportunity is for you with this one. But starting out the back, now, you can do aerial measurements yourself. You're just going to have to jump on the website and have a look at that. But there is serious space out here. Development potential, well, you need to speak to the council about that. I can't quote you. I can't tell you. You've got to speak to them. But I reckon there's a heck of a lot of potential going on out here. Look at that with the... you can barely see a fence because across the back, all of those once hedges have now grown up quite a lot. And the same around here. You can turn it back into something really special in that sense. There's a jacaranda tree, a couple of jacarandas I think out here in the garden, and these lawns were just absolutely extraordinary many years ago, not so much these days. This is the house. Let's go back around to the front and have a look at what's going on, and then we'll make our way back out here to try and work it out. Now, a couple of things I've got to tell you. We got no power. So it's going to be quite a dark video. So, maybe do adjust your settings if you can't quite see what's going on. I'll try and adjust mine. And because I've basically just walked in and hit record, well, you might have to bear with me while I try and adjust mine as well. That's the kind of journey we're on. We're doing this together, folks. We're all in this together, but you will not have everyone with you when you tackle the project. So have a look at what's going on. And I say we're all in this together. At this stage we are, but later on it's just you on your own, folks. That is what we've got. So out the front here, there's a caravan. Now it's an as is, where is sale. Pretty darn good chance that that'll be as is, where is as well, and that will probably be here when you buy it. So call it a site office if you need to. Make our way up the rickety steps. Hardly. I think we're just gonna step straight to the top and go from there. The house has been broken into over the years. There has been some damage from a couple of squatters. But whilst I say a bit of damage from squatters, they haven't squatted inside, as in used it as a toilet, which is a real positive. So at least we're not dealing with that. And we're also not dealing with mountains of trash and crap like that these delinquents tend to bring with them. This is what we've got going on. We have, I'm not going to give you I suppose I can give you the floor plan crash course first. How about I do that? We have a lounge room at the front. The entrance takes us through to the kitchen. Now, if I was a better real estate agent, I would have described that as a chef's kitchen where you can cook up wonderful delights to impress your family and friends. You can try that with this if you want, but I don't know how you'll go with maintaining those relationships if they realise things have been cooked up in there. Bedroom number 1, bedroom number 2, and a bit of a sleep out. So we won't call that bedroom number 3, we'll just call that a bit of a sleep out. And bathroom, in as much as there's a bath in this room, it's a bathroom. Yeah, look, it's not like hotel level luxury, but it has a bathroom, it has a kitchen, it has a laundry, and it has a toilet. It doesn't have power, so I can't show you that in great detail, but let's face it, you probably don't want to see a great amount of detail for that particular part of the house. All right, so let's head back to here. Now, we've got, hang on. I walked into the security door, but the beautiful thing about that security door is it is, I don't know what, it would keep out a car, I think, but it wouldn't keep out a person because there's no mesh in that anymore. Right, we have the lounge room with the open fireplace. Now, the floors are a bit how you going, and we have, put it this way, don't put a pool table in here unless you want to go for that perfect pocket where as soon as you break it, pretty much everything will end up in that one pocket. And the floors are on a bit of a wobble. So I'm walking up the mountain here. You might be able to get some sort of context there. Oh, have I got anything I can go to show you that? You can see it maybe from down on this level. Yeah. It's going to need some restumping if you're going to retain the house. By the way, the other option is that you knock it over. That's your choice. I don't like seeing things knocked over. I'm not a knock it over kind of guy. I like to see something like this restored and turned back into what it could have once been, maybe taking it to another level entirely. What's really interesting about this house, by the way, and I can't always do this, but in this case I can show you inside the wall, thanks to one of the people that broke in here at some stage, it's all Jarrah. All the external walls, that's not some, oh, hang on a second, my settings are still adjusted to ultra bright for inside the house, but all of that, the weatherboard, that's not like fibre cement or asbestos or something there. That is Jarrah, which is brilliant. So all of that. That's according to what I've been told, by the way. I am not a timber expert. I've been told it's Jarrah. It's hardwood of some kind. I believe it's Jarrah. That was a pretty common thing back in that era of around the late 50s when it was built. Now, as we make our way through here to the kitchen, slight change in the flooring. We've got that style of flooring there, and this had vinyl on it. So I think it's probably the same type of flooring. It's just that this has been exposed for 65, 70 odd years. And that is flooring that's had the vinyl over the top, but not anymore. So the kitchen, a good size space. You could obviously, you know, if you're going for that open plan sort of look, if you were to renovate this, the good thing about it, it is all timber frame. So you can take out walls. Don't ask me which ones. Get an engineer to tell you what you can and can't do, folks. But you could take out that wall, perhaps. You could take out this wall, perhaps, and have a far more open plan kind of design that fits with the life that we lead in 2026. Makes it a little bit more appealing. You could have a nice, big, welcoming kind of feel that way. Or not. It's up to you. Bedroom number 1. It's got one of those, which is very handy. And still got the timber window frames, all that kind of stuff. And they open too, which is more than I can say for some places with timber windows. Look at that. They haven't even been painted shut, as often happens. Sorry, this brightness thing is kind of getting us a little bit thrown there. There you go. Like I say, we're all on this journey together. Forgive me while I fiddle around trying to get the settings right. Because of that movement that the house has experienced as well, we've got walls that have shifted. It's all timber frame, right? So unlike bricks, you can't just, easily fix that. But with this, all timber frame, I couldn't easily fix it because, that's just not my bag, baby. But you could possibly, if you're the sort of person that's been watching this long and knows how to do stuff. Anyone who knows how to do stuff could probably get it all going again great. It's not that far gone, I don't think. But then again, I'm an optimist. So you come and see it for yourself. Tell me what you think can be done. And I reckon there is life in the old girl yet. And I reckon she's going to have quite the makeover. I reckon she's going to be a pretty good looking old girl when you get through with her. In the meantime though, she's going to need some cosmetics. And some structural stuff. So it's skeletal and makeup, it's a lot. It's a lot. Through here, again, you see another crack like that. That's all movement of of the stumps. Another one over on that side, movement of the stumps. But once the stumps stop moving, that stops moving. Once the stumps have stopped moving, you fix that up, you patch that up, and she's right as rain. Great, like high ceilings as well. These sorts of things came standard back in this era, which is crazy because people were shorter. So, I don't know why they needed such high ceilings. They had them anyway. This is the sleep out, and the bit of a sleep out is a bit of a mess, frankly. But again, this isn't as is where is with all stuff kind of sale, right? There's barely any stuff. Got a cabinet. There's certain bits and pieces that may go as well, right? The owner might have a place for some of those things, but at the same time, probably not. Most things will likely still be here. Now, I say there's no asbestos on the external walls. I don't know that, by the way, because that might be what I've implied by that. That's not an asbestos check. There would probably be some in the ceiling through here. I would doubt there would be any in the bedrooms, but the wet areas, most likely there would be. That was just how they did things back in the day. So there would be asbestos behind here and behind those walls too. Chances are good you'd be making some pretty substantial changes in here. Look, asbestos, obviously you're extremely careful with working with asbestos, but in terms of the price, I've heard people go, oh, it's going to cost you $100,000. It's not going to cost you $100,000, okay? Get a couple of quotes. It depends on who you're talking to with that sort of stuff. It's not like cheap to get rid of, but there are plenty of people out there who do it and do it well and do it professionally, and it doesn't cost the earth. So again, you would have, and this is an assumption, but most likely asbestos in the lower section of the walls, behind the sink, and at that level, and quite likely just plasterboard. Here we go, have a look at that. Still the old, plaster glass, really. It's the... Yeah. I do not believe that is asbestos. But again, I'm not testing it. I'm not proving anything. That's just my semi-educated guess. Educated about the titles, educated about the contracts, and moderately educated about the home. Do your own investigation. That's what I'm saying. In here, yes, very likely asbestos as well, because the laundry is a wet area. And that is probably the case in there as well. We often do this in these explorations of the rundown houses. Get a little bit more brightness. How do we reckon we'll go? That's fine. That is fine. That is a proof that this is a good one. There you go. We've had some shockers if you've ever taken these journeys with me in the past through the houses that need a lot of work. That's like one of the best ones. Would I keep it? Probably not. I reckon probably want to still change that over as part of the renovation process. But, hey, if you got here on the first day and you were desperate, you could still use it. All right. Out the front, we've got this lovely veranda with the deck. You're going to need to do some work on the steps. Again, likely asbestos out here. It's a tile roof, clay tile roof. And... there's some sections with gutters, some sections without. The sections with will certainly need a mow. If we have a closer look at that, yeah, little bit of leaf litter that's turned into actual grass. But I'm sure you'll take care of that. It's cute though, right? You've got to agree it is a cute house. There is some potential that I reckon just needs you to get in here and tap it. We've got gardens with curbs and edges and stuff like that. You can just see that there was serious love put into all of this for a very long time. Got this veranda across the back. Those steps are okay. We just don't have a key for that door. So, you know, same with those ones. Now, when a house is empty for a little while, it does attract the odd squatter. And we have had those here. They could have slept in here if they wanted to. That would have been fine. They didn't. They wanted to sleep in the house, and that's understandable as well. But one of them, apparently, he wanted a hot shower. And that's okay. I understand that. Like, it's, you know, it's cold winters, that sort of thing. This was several years ago that this happened. But because the hot water system wasn't working, he decided that he'll try and get the hot water system to heat up by lighting it on fire. So he attempted to start a fire around the hot water system to heat the water up. And oddly enough, it appears to not have worked because he left after that, obviously to maybe try and find a house where the hot water system was just connected to power or something. Yeah, you will need a new hot water system, or at the very least, a better method of lighting a fire to heat the water inside. Now, out here, we have a couple of things I want to point out to you. There's more of that hardwood. Look at that. You know, it's a bit of wood rot in that, because obviously it's been quite exposed for quite some time. This kind of gives you an idea of the movement the house has seen. So that's dropped down. I don't know if you're kind of getting that on that angle. Maybe more like that would help. Yeah, so there's been a little bit of activity like that. In terms of getting under the house to do that sort of work, look, I'm not going to ferret under there today to show you what's going on. I might be able to do this. How about this? I'll just put it up against there like that. There you go. So timber stumps. They've got the ant caps on there as well, by the looks of it. That's what it's like underneath. How about we just do this? I'll show you from this side. That's what we've got. That's across the back. And we'll go from here. All right. Now, maybe you know what you're looking at with that. Maybe this is possibly the most boring video you've ever seen on the internet. But I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to show you the details of something that you might be buying and might be fixing. But this is the kitchen side, so we're just below the kitchen here. See a bit of wonkiness in some of them. This is right below the kitchen. Hopefully this is helpful. If it's not, just skip along. I reckon that gives you a pretty good insight as to what's happening under a house. And even if it doesn't, you know, we've made our best efforts to show you what's going on. We did tell you it was going to need some work. This will show you what sort of work is needed, hopefully. Okay, have a look from here. This is on the front left corner of the house, looking under the veranda. And we're under the bedroom where the cracks were. You know, I pointed out those cracks before. We're under that room right now. Have a look from this side as well. It's going to need some jacking. That's my guess. If you don't know what you're looking at yourself, find an expert. I mean, we're on the internet. There's bound to be an expert around. If you're an expert, by all means, chime in. Hit us up at markrogan.com.au, where you'll find a lot more information, by the way. That's what's happening underneath. Well, hello. You're a bit wonky, aren't you? Are we blaming you for some of these problems? I think we might be. This guy right here. Not him. Him. That one, like, there. There. Yeah. So that's what we're working with, folks. Hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea as to what's happening on the underside. But I don't know if you're undecided after that. If you are, you probably need to come and check it out for yourself. It is an as is, where is, what you see is what you get kind of sale. We think we know what we see. We think we know what you get. But there could be some surprises along the way. There always are with these things. Sometimes they're good surprises and you find out that you go, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. It just looked worse. And then there's other times where you go, oh, that was, we weren't expecting that. So come along with low expectations at high energy, and I'm sure you're going to turn it into something very special. It's a cool property, 22 Medina Avenue in Medina. I look forward to seeing what you can turn it into, and importantly, I look forward to seeing you here to kind of make that assessment for yourself. If you can't make it in person and there's something we've missed, please do let us know. Actually, there is something we missed. I'll show you this, because this is always the question that I get asked. Does it need rewiring? Yeah, just assume it does, all right? It definitely would need rewiring. Oh dear. The meter box. There's your caravan. Great side office. Okay, that's what we're working with. I believe there was a bore on the property at some stage. I'll try and find out where that was. Again, don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on anything after watching this video. Please don't quote me on anything. The only quote that I'll have is probably, something philosophical and motivational to try and, keep you inspired throughout the whole process. The hot water system switch. There you go. Should just be a box of matches by the looks of it. Anyway, that is the story, folks. Check it out. Medina, by the way, the location, I should have banged on about that more. Probably will in another form. But you are so close to so much. You're close to the freeway. You're close to the beach. You're right alongside the coast. And the budget, the price is just insanely affordable for what it is. If you know what you're doing, I think it's a pretty cool opportunity. We're going to need some new windows, folks. That's another thing I didn't point out before. Just assume you're going to have a bunch of stuff to replace. But assume at the end as well, you're going to have a very cute home that is going to be the envy of everyone once again. It will bring it back to its former glory, and you can probably put your name on the sign out the front. I don't know what the regulations are around that. Probably don't, again, quote me on that. Thanks so much for having a look around. I look forward to seeing you here.